Hello there. How is everybody today? Hopefully good. Holy cow, my Twitter just blew up. So yeah, it occurred to me, once I started this, I don't really have anything to do when there's not anybody talking or watching, so just gonna kind of hang out here and listen to music for the moment. But as I see people popping in, I will definitely say hello. And yeah, we'll get a conversation going. Oh man, I definitely needed coffee today. I had one of those moments this morning where I was like half asleep and literally dragging myself out of bed. And hey Glitch. My cat knows exactly what I'm streaming, and that's when she likes to talk. Literally dragging myself out of bed and slowly make my way all the way up the stairs and start to make coffee. And I'm like, I'm just gonna, sort of, for lack of a better term, half-ass it with the coffee this morning. I just need it as fast as possible. Let me try to make this super fast. And I was about to take a few shortcuts with making my coffee. Coffee is a very serious thing if you don't know. At least for me. So taking shortcuts is not something I usually do. But I was like, you know what, it'll be worth it. So I actually took the time. I didn't use the coffee I'd already ground up. I ground some fresh coffee. And I was like, okay, ground fresh coffee. That'll be better. I'll just do that. And then I was like, okay. I'm not going to worry about, pre-rinsing the filter or anything like that. I'll just screw this. I was literally about to put the coffee in the filter. I'm like, no, it'll be so much better if I just pre-rinse the filter. So then I went to go do that. And yeah, it was worth it. Half asleep, desperately needing coffee me didn't think it would be, but present me is very glad that I did. Getting a lot of stuff going on Twitter right now. Oh, people are talking about the rant I did about relationships and feelings and how flirting is really weird. Cool. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit terrified to even send that last night. Because it's very not something I usually talk about on Twitter. But I'm glad I did. It seems that a few people feel the same way and seem to have benefited from it. I'm just gonna update Twitter here, speaking of that. Since it took forever for me to actually get live. We're gonna retweet this. There we go. And tweet sent. There we go. I'm curious to see how this time slot does. Sound effect? Hi, Meowington? That is a cool name. Oh, what about the Are you saying I should get a bruh sound effect? Like, bruh. Also, how are you doing today? Ah, okay. I do have this
Hello
one. Where's my pen? I'll actually make a note of it. There's a few sound effects that I want to add. For a sound effect. Okay. Sound effects to add. I have been neglecting my sound effect list for a while. I do need to update that. Get some cool new stuff in there. So bruh is a suggestion. Cool. Hey Buggy, what's up? I'm doing pretty good. Wasn't doing great when I woke up, but now I have this, and everything is better. So, good question for all of y'all. Coffee or tea, and why? Which is your preferred? For me, it's obviously coffee. As for the why, I don't know really. I like tea. Tea isn't bad. It just doesn't have that that oomph that coffee has to. It always tastes like it's watered down to me. Even when I make strong tea, it's still not as there as coffee. Tea because it tastes like flowers. That is totally fair. My favorite tea, as a matter of fact, is green tea with jasmine. I love jasmine in tea. It's so good. Depends on the situation. Totally fair. Yeah, jasmine tea. Jasmine tea is fantastic. Depends on the situation. That is totally fair. I do like tea in certain situations more than coffee. Usually it's late at night, or occasionally if my friend, like my best friend Rowan and I are, talking about something, I don't know, drama related or serious or intense or something like that. What's the newer phrase these days? Spilling the tea, I think is how it goes. Sometimes I'll actually get legit tea, which is usually if I have green tea, it'll be green tea. If I don't, or if I'm like, I kind of want coffee in this situation, but I want to drink tea instead, I'll go with Earl Grey, which is totally because of Captain Picard from Star Trek. That's the only reason I ever tried Earl Grey tea, and I actually do rather enjoy it, but yeah, it's totally a nerd thing. Some situations call for a Red Bull 4. Is Red Bull 4 like an actual drink, or is that like a fourth Red Bull? Most situations call for vodka. That is totally fair. So interesting bit of trivia about me. I can't really get drunk, like physically impossible for me to get drunk the way that most people drink to, get. I will get slightly relaxed, and I'll stay that way for a very long time, as I'm drinking. But then I kind of skip over the, happy, relaxed, what everybody enjoys about drinking a lot feeling, and I go straight to the room spinning and I'm gonna die. So I don't really drink very much because there's, a few reasons, but one of them being it has no extra effect. It's like a buff in a video game that doesn't stack. It's just once I've had one, it's the same reaction as if I've had 4. It's tragic. 0 to 100. Yeah, half fun is getting totally shit. That's what I hear. I've gotten drunk. Meaning I got all the way to the sick part once or twice, and then that's kind of when I figured out what my limits were. But yeah, I skipped straight over the I feel great part and went straight to the I'm gonna die part. The fun thing was I woke up the next morning, didn't have a hangover, so that was kind of cool. All my friends who had been quite inebriated were miserable the next morning. I'm like, hey guys, how's it going? and they wanted to kill me. Yeah. Here's another good question for you. Speaking of beverages, alcohol and tea pairing versus alcohol and coffee pairing. I haven't had too many alcoholic teas, but I'd have to say probably vodka or brandy for tea, and then for coffee, Irish cream and or Irish whiskey. Both of them together is fantastic. Spiked chai sounds amazing. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, if you did a spiced chai with like what's that anise flavored alcohol? Is it absinthe? Or at least in the States we have something that's called absinthe that tastes like anise. I don't think it's actual anise or actual absinthe. Irish cream, never had tea with alcohol. Yeah, I haven't had it very many times, but yeah, brandy with tea is really nice. Or cognac, for that matter. Yeah, chai with something anise flavored, or if you did chai with like Fireball or Goldschlager, something cinnamon flavored, that would be pretty good. Hey Savannah, how are you? Let's get a hello there.
Hello there.
We're talking about drinks and stuff. So the question of the day is, which do you prefer, coffee or tea, and why? Cozy as fuck, yeah. That's the idea. Hey, thanks for that, host Gwen. Which way am I going here? There we go. Still, I've been streaming for like, what, 7 months now? I still get confused about which side is which because my camera's reversed. So it's like, yay, left hand. Wait, that's on the right side of my face. What's going on? Hey, Michael, how's it going? And thank you for that follow, Meowington. Welcome to the guild. Buggy, Gwen, Goodish. Goodish is better than baddish, and much better than radishes, at least in my opinion. Don't explore too much with teas and coffees, but I think I drink coffee more. That's fair. I was saying I well, definitely always prefer coffee in most situations. But there are some times that I like tea, and I usually go for either a jasmine green tea, or just plain green tea if jasmine's not available, or an Earl Grey tea, which I admitted earlier is absolutely 100% totally because of Star Trek. Because of Picard going tea Earl Grey hot. All those times of me going, I wonder what it tastes like, and I want to be cool like Captain Picard. Did you like those? Thank you. Yeah, this is a new thing I'm trying for Wednesday middays. Mostly on the stream, you'll see tabletop games. But I wanted to do something a little bit different. And I talked to a lot of people on Twitter and Discord who I think could just use a place where they could go, like you would go to a bar or a coffee shop and you interact with your barista or bartender or other people there, and you're able to kind of vent or share what you're excited about, or just kind of socialize and get some moral support. But nowadays it's a little bit harder to do for some folks, especially if you have anything like a physical disability, which keeps you from going out, or if you're like me and you have no money, you can't afford to go out to those places. Some place that you can kind of simulate that. And I've been a barista many a time in my life. I was one for 5 or 6 years, all through late high school, all the way through college. So I love talking to people and having coffee and all that jazz. So it's kind of the concept. Oh, there's a lot of chat for me to catch up with. Um, actually ordered a Keurig and it gets here Friday. Oh, that's awesome, Savannah. That's exciting. Good. You like radishes? That's totally fine. There are not many foods that I don't enjoy, as my weight will tell you. But there are a couple that I cannot get behind, and radishes is one of them. If you had to go to a coffee shop, where would you go? So I typically will always go to a mom and pop shop, someplace that's not a big chain, or if it is a chain, it's a very small local chain. There's one here in Cedar City on Main Street. I am completely blanking on the name because I've only been there once or twice, just because of, again, money issues. Otherwise, I'd be there every day. I freaking love coffee shops. But I'll have to look up the name, and maybe I'll mention that next Wednesday, or I'll tweet it out. But it's just a local shop. If chains are the only option, I actually don't mind Starbucks as much anymore. I used to really hate Starbucks, especially when I was a barista, because they were our biggest competition. But also because their quality used to just be horrible. I mean, it was all tasted exactly the same. Their consistency was great. It just all tasted like burnt crap. But they've gotten a lot better over the years, and I actually don't mind them too much anymore. The atmosphere in their physical locations are pretty great too. So if I had to go with a chain, I'd probably do Starbucks. Let's see, Earl Grey is so good. If you get a good brew, yeah, really good Earl Grey is great. Not great Earl Grey is, yeah, just kind of like, eh. Whole leaf tea, I totally agree with that. Stick to like a breakfast tea, very plain. Really wanted to like vanilla chai, but I just can't do it. That's fair. It's so wholesome. Thanks. That's my rate. So yeah. Yeah, I like food. Love the vibe of coffee shops. They're always so warm and welcoming. Yeah, same here. That's pretty much where I lived in high school and in college. Part of that is because I didn't really want to be at home. My journey to PTSD started in around high school, so part of it was, I needed a way to get out, and that was a great place to go. But also, I've been obsessed with coffee since I was a kid. I have no idea why. I just really love it. Yeah, I would go to coffee shops, hang out, play board games. This music's getting a little loud. There we go. Play board games. I'd play my guitar. It was just cool places to hang out. Tend to only go to Starbucks for the free water. That's fair. Wish I had a mom and pop coffee shop near me. Maybe my writing would get done. Yeah. That's a lot of what I did at coffee shops too. I would take my laptop. I was very fortunate. I was given a laptop when I was a senior in high school, and that was before laptops became a little more affordable too. This was like 2002, I think, is when I got it. So they're still a little pricey. And but I was very fortunate. I got one, and I had that thing for ages before I upgraded, because I tried to take really good care of it, and it was completely falling apart by the time I finally retired it. But yeah, I would take my laptop into coffee shops, and I would do my homework, my assignments, my college papers, all that jazz, and I've surprisingly been able to get a lot of writing done in Starbucks coffee shops. More than I would have thought possible, given that they're usually kind of, busy. But I just pop my headphones in and drink my coffee, and I can actually get a lot of writing done. Same with Waffle House. Fair. Oh man, I haven't had Waffle House in ages. There's no Waffle Houses out this far west. But I used to eat there all the time when I lived in South Carolina. Gwen says, there's a mom and pop coffee shop opening near me. Oh, awesome. Plan on getting a job there. Very cool. I loved my jobs at coffee shops. Yeah, they were fantastic. Both as just, your plain old barista, and I got to manage a couple of coffee shops right out of, I guess it wasn't right out of high school. I had about a year of college under my belt, which with the program I went through meant I had an associate's. So right around there, I think, is when I started doing managing. But yeah, all of it was fantastic. I loved it. Okay, I think I'm caught up on chat now. Michael, do you prefer coffee or tea, or neither, and why? Also, Buggy, I've been trying to figure out what is that emote. I can tell, like, it looks like you, but I can't quite tell what's going on in that. And it might be because I'm looking at it on Streamlabs and it doesn't have the best emote resolution. For tea, but good tea is hella expensive. Yeah, it really is. Teavana was pretty great before Starbucks bought them out. I can't really find any of them now. Hey, thanks for that host, Savannah. Indifferent for the most part. Both have liquid in it, but tend to drink more tea. That's fair. If we count iced tea, I drink a whole lot more iced tea than I do coffee for the most part. Since it's easy to just put a couple into some water, let it soak in the fridge. Yeah, chorus. It's me, it's a meme my friend made called Where's Buggy? Oh my god, iced tea, right? I know, so I live in Utah now. I've lived here for over a decade, but I grew up in the South, mostly like Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, in that little sort of corner. And yeah, iced tea was just what you drank every day. So I'll still do that now. Though I do, I guess you could call it cold brew iced tea. I don't really boil tea like my mom did. Takes longer to make, but as long as you remember to do it like at night, as soon as the pitcher's empty, throw the tea bags and everything in the thing and stick it in the fridge. It's not bad. How big is sweet tea down south? That's a great question. I'm trying to think of the appropriate scale of just how important sweet tea is down south. If it weren't for the fact that it's more expensive to make or pour than water, it would probably be the default that's on your table at every restaurant. That's how big sweet tea is in the South. It's kind of assumed that you want tea. Like people's blood type, yeah. Bigger than a bread box? Yes. There's not a difference between water. It's bigger than Dr. Pepper. Yeah, it's bigger than Dr. Pepper, bigger than soda. Yeah, generally, like, some people may not drink coffee in the South, but everybody drinks iced tea. And iced tea is usually synonymous with sweet iced tea. There's some fluctuation on how sweet. Anywhere from, just slightly sweetened to, if you run it up syrup for your pancakes, you can just pour your cup of tea on top of it. I'm somewhere in the middle of that myself. I don't like super, super, super sweet tea. But I also like to be able to tell that there's sugar in there. I'm in the deep South, and it's like sweet tea or nothing. Yeah. Hold up tea up. Yeah, that's an exaggeration for humor. I've never met anyone that's actually put sweet tea on their pancakes. But I have had tea that's sweet enough you probably could. Oof, I can't do a lot of cheap sweet tea, which is why I say I drink coffee, because I want good tea. If it's not good tea, I can't drink too much of it. That's fair. I drink a lot of really cheap sweet tea right now, but yeah, getting good tea is way better. Yeah, you always need to ask for unsweetened tea unless you want a pound of sugar. Yeah. For most restaurants in the South, I kind of take a page from my mom's book, which is she'll always order half and half, is what you call it down there, which is not cream. It's half unsweet tea and half sweet tea. And the South is about the only place I've ever found where you can say, hey, I'd like a tea half and half, where they don't look at you funny and go, do you want like a cup of half and half and tea, or they go, okay, and they bring it out. Yeah, it's stupid sweet, Buggy. It's so sweet. Like, I can't do it. I tend to like more on the bitter side of flavors, or at least more savory side, anyways. Which is why I don't usually drink a lot of or have a lot of sugar in my coffee. Or like if I go to a place like Starbucks and get like a mocha or something like that, I'm like, can you do like half of whatever you normally do? Because I like to taste the coffee and not just chocolate syrup. Done that so many times, yeah. Know people to pour sweet tea on pancakes because cheaper than syrup. Yeah. No, as far as syrup goes, if I'm not going to use like store-bought syrup or something like that, I will usually just make my own, which is surprisingly easy to make syrup. You just need sugar and water essentially, and then whatever you want to flavor it with. So actually did. I need to do this again. I made a big bottle of spiced syrup for coffee. This was October, I think, early October is when I made it the last time, where we're already out of it. But yeah, I did I think it was a 1-to-1 ratio, or it might have been a 2-to-1 ratio. You know, like 2 cups of sugar to 1 cup of water, or 1 cup of sugar to 1 cup of water. I think it was a 2-to-1. And the only difference is how thick the syrup is. So I did that, and then I threw in like was it cinnamon and cardamom and clove and allspice and I think nutmeg, and the cinnamon was a cinnamon stick. Just threw all that in a pot, the sugar and the water, and yeah, let it kind of boil until it was completely dissolved and the spices had gotten really good and infused into the mixture. Let it cool off enough, and then just used a funnel to pour it into. I've got an old Monin syrup bottle from when I bought one of their syrups, and then I ran out of it. So I just reused that, recycled it, put that syrup in there, and it's so good. I like coffee a little bitter. Yeah. Have you ever had Turkish coffee? That's a really, really interesting coffee preparation method. It's I'll tell you how it's made in a second. Let me catch up on chat here. Tea half and half, please. My default light restaurants. Yeah, made my ham glaze sans honey. Ham glaze sans. Oh, with the syrup. Yeah. Oh, I bet that was good. What's my stance on Arnold? I fucking love Arnold Palmer's. They're so good. Oddly hard to find somewhere that makes a good one, which you would think would be easy because it's literally tea and lemonade. But I've had places that really manage to screw that up, and I'm like, how do you get 2 ingredients? But I've been mixing drinks since high school, with first coffee, and then I made cocktails, and I've thrown many a party where I ended up being the bartender almost the whole party, just sitting behind the my apartment had an island in there, so I just basically stood there and mixed drinks for half the party. But I enjoy that, so it wasn't a big deal. Yeah, Arnold Palmer's are the best. Love Arnold Palmer's, but I don't like putting lemon in my tea. Yeah, I hadn't really thought about it, but now that you mention that, I'm the same way. Like, I don't like just lemon in my tea. If it's a little extra sweet, I can do some lemon. But usually I just want just plain iced sweet tea, unless it's an Arnold Palmer. Favorite way to drink tea? Yeah. I did make one recently. Rowan's got this, it's like a rose lemonade mix. So it's lemonade, but it has a rose flavor in it. Like I guess they made it with rose water or something like that before they turned it into a powder. Anyways, did an Arnold Palmer with that, and that was actually quite good. I'm not a huge fan of rose flavoring in things, generally, because it's so easy to overpower whatever you're trying to make. But this was actually pretty good. It was super refreshing. when it was warmer, we would do like a weekly walk where we just go chat, and I'd take pictures and stuff because we're near tons of hiking trails. But yeah, we came back and made Arnold Palmer's with that, and I taught her how to make pimento cheese, like homemade real pimento cheese. So we had pimento cheese sandwich and that Arnold Palmer, and it was amazing after being out in the heat. Love Arnold Palmer's, but I don't like putting them in my tea. Like, it makes no sense, but here I am. Yeah. It was one of my top 10 flavors. That's cool. Homemade pimento cheese. Yes, homemade pimento cheese. That's another thing. It's like, I don't understand why more people don't make homemade pimento cheese, because it's so freaking easy. Especially if you buy pre-shredded cheese. It's literally shredded cheddar. For me, the sharper the better. A can of diced pimentos, which is, you get it in the grocery store. It's just in a little jar. Maybe grab 2 of them if you like it extra pimento-y. Not sure if pimento-y is a real word, but I'm gonna go with it. So you get your cheese, you get your pimentos. You toss in a bunch of mayonnaise, however much you need to get that consistency that you want, and then salt and fresh cracked pepper, and that's it. Eating it right now, by the way, I am so jealous. I had a deli turkey quesadilla that I hurriedly threw together right before the stream because I was like, oh crap, I have to be on stream in 10 minutes and I haven't eaten. And I have that problem a lot, though. I will get busy working on stuff because when I'm not on stream, I'm at least an equal amount of time prepping or making art for streams or on Twitter saying, hey, go watch my stuff. So I have this horrible habit of not eating. And it's not because I'm trying to lose weight or anything like that. I forget to eat. I will, my stomach will be like, hey, you're hungry. And I'm like, oh yeah, I should eat something. And then I get distracted. And then, 2 hours later, I'm like, why do I feel sick? Oh yeah, I was supposed to eat. It doesn't help that I do that on top of lots of coffee, because I live off of coffee. But yeah, I forget to eat a lot. So I'm glad I remembered this morning. My dad would always make extra sharp cheddar mac and cheese with pieces of stewed tomatoes. And anytime I have extra sharp cheddar, it makes me think of, oh, that's really sweet. Also, that sounds really tasty. Oh yeah, I could go on for ages about mac and cheese. There's so many good different ways that you can make it. I know, it's so good. One of my favorite ways of having mac and cheese growing up was my mom would make, real mac and cheese with the bechamel sauce and all that jazz, the really, really good stuff. But she'd put fresh spinach in it, which of course would wilt because of the heat of everything, which is exactly what you wanted. So basically be this giant casserole dish full of this really good homemade mac and cheese with spinach scattered all throughout it. So you didn't just get like that one one layer of flavor. You sort of had a depth of flavor to it. And you didn't feel like you were just being a pig eating nothing but cream and cheese and fattening stuff. There's actually something healthy in it. Dreams about it sometimes, yeah. I had, I'm trying to remember the name of the place. It's in Pleasant Grove, Utah, which is a very small town in between Provo and Salt Lake, closer to Provo. I wish I could remember the name of the restaurant, but they do grilled cheese. That's all they do is various kinds of grilled cheese and soups. But they do a grilled mac and cheese. So picture a grilled cheese sandwich, but the filling is mac and cheese, along with more cheese on top of that. And that was pretty good. I may have just gotten it on a bad day, but they were a little heavy-handed with the butter on the bread. So the bread kind of tasted like, I don't know, grease with the texture of bread. It was super, super fattening. So which kind of coated the tongue, and I couldn't really appreciate the mac and cheese as much. But I could tell, like, if you just cut back on, the butter or the fat that the bread was in to cook it, would have been stellar. And it was still pretty dang good even with that. And I was like, this is the best thing ever, concept wise. A grilled cheese with mac and cheese as the filling. It's just amazing. Spinach, that mac and cheese is basically a superfood. Yeah, I'll take 7 of those, please, right? Food stream. Yeah. I might, I don't know how I would set it up with where I am currently, but I would love to do some cooking streams here and there in the future. Because I absolutely love to cook. Madame Gandalf, Alex does a phenomenal cooking stream. I love catching those. Yeah. Like, I know, like, how I could set up the cameras and stuff. It's just a matter of, I'm living with friends, so, are they going to be okay with me completely taking over the kitchen for several hours and the upstairs where they live and, do things that make noise that, normal people do. I think it would be a little bit of an imposition to do that at least on a regular basis. But yeah, Alex does an amazing stream every week. Actually, I'm gonna do a shout out for that. There we go. Also a matter of having cameras. Yeah, I've got a couple of cameras that I could do it with, and I've got the microphone that could handle it. I've actually got access to a couple microphones. So like logistically, I could do it with the equipment I have. It's just a matter of the space and whatnot, and imposing on somebody else's space. Yeah, when I get my own place again, I'm definitely gonna do that. I'll do cooking streams and coffee streams and cocktail streams, things like that. It'll be great. Speaking of coffee, I was gonna mention how Turkish coffee's made. Because when you hear how it's made, you'd think it would be the most bitter, awful thing ever. But it's so good. So first of all, you have to have this special kind of coffee pot. It's sort of, this is a funny word, but bulbous at the bottom. Kind of gets a little bit skinnier in the middle and then flares out. It's like not like a glass pot, it's a metal pot. And you grind the coffee down super, super fine, like finer than espresso. It's basically like super fine granulated sugar at that point. So you get it really, really fine. And I'd have to look up the ratios, but it's a lot of coffee to water. Probably somewhere close to what you do for espresso. And if you get really good Turkish coffee, like real Turkish coffee, it usually has cardamom in it, and a lot of people toss the sugar in the pot as well. But the really interesting thing is the coffee grounds form sort of like a crust on top of the water, and you let it boil, which is not something you usually do with coffee, unless you're doing like a percolator, which is, I mean, I have a lot of nostalgia with percolators because my grandmother would make coffee in that when I was a kid, and I would inevitably talk someone into giving me a little bit when I was a kid. But generally, boiling your coffee to that point is not tasty, usually. But with this one, it turns out really well. So you boil the coffee, and it has to basically get to the point where it's boiling over, and you let that happen 3 times. So almost boils over, you pull it off the heat for a second, put it back on, et cetera, et cetera. And then you pour it into these, like espresso type cups, the demi-tasse cups. But it's unfiltered, so the grounds are still in the coffee. So you have to kind of let it settle to the bottom, and then you sip it. So it right, Gwen? It sounds horrible. It sounds disgusting. It sounds like it would be the most harsh, bitter flavor you could possibly imagine. But not exactly sure why, but something about it. Once you let all the grounds settle to the bottom, and you sip just the coffee, it is the smoothest cup of coffee I've ever had. It is incredible. Generally drink it black. Like I said, if you want it sweeter, you can add the sugar into the pot. I tend to like a little bit of sweetener in that because it is so strong, but it's incredibly smooth. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, it's one of those things where when I heard about it, I was like, this sounds like it's gonna be gross, but you know, I'll try most things once at least, and I loved it. I think I missed some chat here. Yo, yeet, but why? That sounds like it would burn horribly. I know it sounds wrong, but it's so good. Time for the percolator. Um, yeah, yeah. Um, Percolators. I will fully admit I'm a coffee snob. I try not to be snobbish towards people and how they enjoy their coffee. So like, if you enjoy percolated coffee, that's awesome. You do you. But objectively, it is a horrible way to make coffee. um, just for the purpose of what it does chemically to the coffee. The properties of the coffee that it extracts are not the ones that are typically most desirable. Um, I know way too much about the chemistry of coffee and how it works and different brewing methods and what it extracts out of coffee. If these scammers keep calling me, right? I should look up and see. That's really funny that you mentioned that. I just got a voicemail from a telemarketer. That's really funny. You should see the block list on my phone. I get so many telemarketers and scam calls. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten a call from somebody claiming to be the Social Security Service, saying, you know, I'm you know, about to be arrested if I don't call them back and give them my Social Security number. I'm like, right. No. No, I'm not. I just passed a background check for a thing I applied for, so it's like, if there was something going on, that would have showed up. But yeah, I looked up the number. It's a common scam. But also, I still get phone calls for the last two people to have my phone number. I've had this phone number for 4 years, I think. Yeah, that sounds about right. I still get calls for them, and they'll say, you know, hello, is this? I won't say their actual name, but they'll say, hey, is this so and so? Or I need to talk to so and so. I'm like, yeah, this hasn't been their number for 4 years. I don't have their new number. I'm sorry. Hello, my name is Billy, and I'm from the IRS. The sheriff department is literally at your door. Give us $300 in iTunes cards. Yeah. I have my phone set to not answer those. That's one of the great things about my phone. Nice. Yeah, I block the numbers every time they come through, but they always find new ones. Let's see. Yeah, I caught up on that. They always ask for payment through some whack. Yeah, they do. It's really weird. A lot of times it's I'm trying to remember the name of the thing. It's like PayPal, but it's more international than PayPal. It's like Green Cash or some weird thing like that. I don't have to block them; they get auto rejected. That's cool. No, not Western Union. It's like we don't really use it here in America. It's more like Far East Asia. And some Europe. Green Dot, that's the one. I knew it was Green something. Yeah, Green Dot. I've had so many scammers want to get paid through Green Dot. I used to work a lot on sites like freelancer.com, both as an employer and a freelancer though. So, oh my god, so many scams there. It's way worse now too. I tried to get some more work through Freelancer recently, and I'd say it was about a 90-10 split of people that were trying to scam me versus actual job opportunities. It was horrible. Holy cow, my Twitter's blowing up. Let's see what's going on here. Scam emails are the best, right? Oh, it's about my relationship feelings thread that I posted last night. Oh, cool. Any reference to TED Talk, I'll have to look that up. So that was a really weird thing that I posted last night. I don't usually talk about that kind of stuff, at least not that in depth. And what I was talking about was why flirting is so weird. Like, if you have a solid platonic relationship with somebody already, you're really good friends. Why is it like a if you are attracted to them, why does it become a, well, I either have to tell them that I'm attracted to them, and if they feel the same way, then everything will be great. But if they don't, it'll completely ruin the friendship, and it'll be always weird, and we can't have an actual conversation about how we feel to get on the same page. That's another thing. I know way too much about phones. If you want to set your phone to auto reject scams, I could. Oh, thanks. I might in the future. It's one of those like not a huge priority things for me. It's just slightly annoying. But I might ask you in the future. So yeah, the whole thread was like, why is it an all or nothing thing? Why isn't it something more along the lines of the only example I could think of was starting a band, because that takes about the same level of commitment. But why isn't it like I have this cool idea. We should start a band together. I think it'd be cool to be in a band with you. And if the friend says, I'm not really interested in being in a band, you go, all right, cool. Just a thought. Let's go do something else. That it would be a normal conversation. But when it's a relationship, like, hey, I'm kind of attracted to you. I think it would be cool to date you. It's such a weird, like, oh, well, now everything's different. And it's like, but really nothing for either of you has really changed. You're both the same people. You both care about each other. Granted, it's the mutual caring is platonic, but you both still have that level of caring. You didn't suddenly lose interest in your mutual hobbies or interests or whatever it is that you do. Everybody's still the same. So why is it so weird to the point where we have this preconception that it'll completely ruin the relationship? Short answer is the heteros have messed stuff up. You're not wrong. So yeah, I tweeted that out, and I was very nervous about sending that out because I was like, I don't know how people are going to react to this. And I also had to specify like there's not someone I'm really wanting to flirt with or say I'm attracted to. And this is my clever way of subtly dropping that hint. It's not. I have plenty of people that I have, crushes on, that are awesome because I know so many amazing people. But it's not like I would, tap any of them on the shoulder and be like, hey, I want to date you. At least, not at this point in my life. So I was like, I was a little bit worried, like, are people going to take this the wrong way? But it doesn't look like anybody did, so that's great. Or if they did, they haven't mentioned it. But yeah, that was the whole thread. It was just like, why is that so weird? Is it because like we see that so much in TV shows and movies and that's just what we've accepted as normal? Or is it actually normal to feel that way? I tend to have a unique perspective on things like open and honest communication, compassion, relationship, things like that. I know I don't think the same way that a lot of people do when it comes to a lot of those things. And a lot of that is because what's happened to me in my life. I've had experiences that have definitely affected the way I process that information, I react to it, both from getting PTSD and also going through a marriage where I got cheated on. I went through a lot of horrible stuff that would make most people not want to trust people. So yeah, I had those unique experiences, which has greatly influenced the way I react to certain things. Depends on how open your group of friends are with their sexuality. Those that are open, it is easier to just go, hey, you hot. Yeah, but there's also like because I say that to a lot of people. I made a tweet about that recently as well, where it's like, how I tell my friends, and that they're awesome and I support them. I'm like, hey, you're awesome, you're pretty, you know, you're amazing. You know, I want to spend time with you. And then there's the flirting, which is basically the exact same thing, just I'm slightly more sheepish about it. So it's kind of hard for me to flirt when that's how it's a problem, I guess, for me that I express support the same way that I flirt, and vice versa. Because I'm terrible at flirting, really. But I had a point that I was getting to with all that, and I kind of lost it along the way. Those that are open. There's the sexuality thing. Yeah, I completely lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. But yeah, it is an interesting topic, and I was curious to see what other people thought. If that was just normal, or if it wasn't normal, and it's just kind of what has been pushed on us, or if I'm the odd one, which is totally possible, because I've had a lot of experiences in life that most people haven't, and like I said, that can strongly influence the way that you react to things. I know, oddly enough for me, going through the trauma that I did that gave me PTSD, and then going through just a not so great end of a marriage, there's a hell of a lot of things there that should make me not trust people, or make me cynical, and it kind of had the opposite effect on me. I kind of determined and made a conscious choice that I was going to continue to be compassionate and open and welcoming to people, in spite of all the crap that happened to me, which is not a way of patting myself on the back. It's just kind of how I chose to do it. I decided, you know, I'd obviously be a little more cautious and be a little bit more aware of warning signs that I now know to look for. And I'm not afraid to go, oh, that person's manipulating or gaslighting me, you know, fuck them, and cut them out of my life. But I'm not less, trying to think how to describe it. I'm not less inclined to give people that chance. They can still blow it, and that's the end of it. But I don't withhold that chance from people just because I got hurt. Because for me, I decided if I do that, then the people that hurt me, you know, one of them unintentionally, the other very much so intentionally, over a very extended period of time. But if I do that, then that situation wins. Like, I'm just hurting myself by doing that at that point. Which was a really long tangent that I didn't anticipate going on. Sorry about that. For me, it's a thing of I don't get physically attracted to people, at least not often. I can appreciate that someone's hot, but it doesn't factor in at all towards being attracted to them. Agreed. And that's totally fair. Excuse me. I have a hard time wrapping my head around that. I have a lot of ace friends who I totally respect, and you know, their sexuality is 100% valid. But for me, I am so the opposite end of that. Like you know, I'm very much so attracted to certain people physically, and not repulsed by you know, sexual conversation or anything like that at all. And I tend to be pretty open with it, actually. There's obviously venues where it's not appropriate to talk about it. Like I won't go in depth with things on Twitch, obviously, or even Twitter. But generally speaking, in the appropriate setting, I'm not squeamish about it at all. And that's not to say that it's a bad thing if you are. Everybody has their own takes on it, their own sexuality, and everything like that. So like if someone is ace and they, you know, don't want to talk about it at all, that's totally fine. That's nothing to be weird about or ashamed about. Just like it's nothing to be ashamed about if you do like being open and talking about it, and being involved with that kind of thing. So for me, it's hard to wrap my head around that, but I do respect it quite a bit. But I do understand too, like for me, there is there is physical attraction, and then there is like relationship attraction. And for me, relationship attraction tends to be much more important than physical attraction. Um, Physical attraction is a very secondary priority, because people's appearance changes over time. It shouldn't be what you base a relationship on. It certainly plays a huge role in attraction, but I'm not looking for, everyone I'm attracted to, get with them or get in a relationship with. So, like I said, it's not a huge priority for me. What is, how are they as a person? How do I relate with them? Is there chemistry there? So I can certainly understand that element of it. Again, lost my train of thought. I do that a lot. It's also a fun side effect of having ADD, is you lose your train of thought a lot. Don't get the whole being attracted to people physically, because that can change. Yeah, exactly. And that's probably something I have a little bit of a unique perspective on as well, being transgender. I don't really see in binary so much as far as gender goes. So I tend to be a little, and I'm bi, so I tend to be a little more open in my attraction as far as, I wouldn't go so far as to say I'm pan, because there are certain types I'm just not physically attracted to. But generally speaking, I get attracted to people more based on their personality, on their character, a lot of times their sense of humor. And the physical attraction a lot of times isn't necessarily, are they hot, or are they thin, or are they fat, or are they this or that. A lot of it's smaller things like eyes, or and not like eye color or shape, but how people communicate with their eyes. A great example is you can communicate with a lot with your eyes, but not everybody does. But that's something I'm attracted to, is people who can. A good example being, if you've ever seen Hot Fuzz, what's her name? Kate Blanchett, I think is her name, does a small spot in that movie where she's literally like in complete doctor's garb. All you can see are her eyes because she's got a mask on. But she emotes and communicates a ton just through her eye expressions. So for me, that's something that I find really attractive. Also, smiles, like a genuineness of a smile, can be very attractive to me. So it's not all about, sex, for example. I can be physically attracted to somebody not because I want to procreate with them, but because I find the way they communicate non-verbally to be very attractive. Which I think made sense. I apologize if that was just me rambling and made no sense whatsoever. Yes, okay. So yeah, but I realize it kind of is my job on the stream to talk a lot, being the streamer, but a lot of the stream is to let you all talk as well. So what are your thoughts on that? Not gonna lie, this kind of chill. Awesome. I'm so glad you think that. It's exactly what I'm going for. I want it to be chill. I want people to feel like they can talk. And also, if you're interested in hearing me go off on a random tangent, I can ramble. But definitely feel free to ramble yourselves. Go on a tangent, rant, vent if you need to. I'm asexual, so my opinion is a bit different. I would love to hear it. I love hearing different opinions and different perspectives. Especially ace ones too, because like I said, it's a bit harder for me to wrap my head around it because it's so different from how my mind works, how I'm attracted to people and how that works. So I'm fascinated to know, to understand it a little bit better. For me, what makes someone attractive is not on the personal appearance, but how they are. Yeah. For me, it's more sharing interests, being able to talk intelligently, being honest, being fun to be around. Yeah, that's a huge part of it as well. Hey, Em! Holy cow, how are you doing? Howdy who? How have you been? I haven't talked to you in ages. In reality, I think it's been like a month, but it feels like ages. How are you doing? We're just chilling and talking about all kinds of stuff. Currently on the conversation topic is why it's weird to share attraction with people. Why it can't just be like an open, honest conversation of like, hey, I'm attracted to you, and somebody goes, oh, I don't feel the same way. Why is it, a friendship ender versus, oh, okay, well, that's a little disappointing, but we're friends, so that's awesome, Hey, Riley too. How's it going? Let me catch up here. I'm at the doctor, so won't be here for long. Just want to say hi. Awesome. Well, thank you for saying hi. I hope you're doing well. Michael says probably best example is Patrick Stewart, who may not be attractive physically, but is attractive by who they are. Yeah, I could understand that. I mean, personally, I think probably not so much now, seeing the huge age difference between me and Patrick Stewart. But like next generation, era, I would find that version of Patrick Stewart very physically attractive. But a lot of that also goes into play is he's an amazing human being, and so that plays a big role. There are plenty of people that I've seen that are incredibly physically attractive, but I know they're a garbage person, and that greatly detracts from their physical attraction. It's sort of it's a combination of the two. In order for me to be truly attracted to somebody, they can't just be physically attractive. As much as it sounds a little shallow to say that, even if somebody is an amazing person, I do still need there to be some physical attraction in order to have that sort of I want to date you or be in a long-term romantic relationship with you. It doesn't mean they have to be a supermodel, just there has to be something there that connects with me on that level. And again, a lot of that can be like how they're expressive with their eyes or how they smile, little things, not necessarily how quote-unquote hot they are. But yeah, I get the Patrick Stewart thing. That makes sense. Exactly, it's how they are. I'm super good. Oh, awesome. I'm glad to hear you're super good, Em. Love the idea of this. Oh, cool. I'm glad. This is the very first one. I'm really excited to do it, and it appears that it's got the atmosphere I was going for, so I'm really glad. Glad you're all enjoying it. Oh, hey, I never know how to pronounce your name. Maharishi? Maharishi? Did I say that right? Very happy to see you. Not shallow at all. Thanks. You need to have a physical attraction. Yeah, it's not. And I think that's the key thing. It's not a shallow physical attraction. It's different than like the Hollywood sex appeal, if you will. It's not necessarily sexual in its relation. But it is a physical attraction. The age difference thing also doesn't make sense to me. It's like, if I like that person and they're of legal age, why should it matter what the age difference is? I tend to be a little bit the same with that. I'm pretty kind of, I guess, loose on my standards for that, for lack of a better way to say that. I think at some point, if you are old enough to literally be their parent, that can be a little bit weird, but in specific situations, it might not be for those particular people. A lot of it comes down to what's your motivation for being attracted to that person. Is it just physical and the fact that they're so much younger, or do you have a deeper connection than that? And if the answer is the latter, then fine. The problem with that, I think, a lot of the issues we see with it is there are a lot of people that will prey upon younger people. And I think that's what gives that whole age difference thing such a bad connotation. Because more often than not, we see it done in a negative way than a positive way. But I think there's certainly times that it can be a positive thing. But generally, if you're within a generation, 10, 20 years, I think you're probably okay. And a lot of life situations can make things different too. Like, for example, I'm 34. I don't relate to other 34-year-olds as well as I do to people that are in their 20s. And a large part of that is because I was not given the opportunity to grow as a person pretty much through my 20s to 30s. From age 20 to 30, I was going through a ton of crap. It's what gave me PTSD. Everything about myself was suppressed or oppressed, to where, in a lot of ways, I haven't matured past 24, if you will, because for 10 years I wasn't allowed to. So, in a vast majority of ways, I would say I relate to and tend to be not relationship attracted, but just like your more general sense of attracted to a group of people. I tend to be drawn, that's the word I was looking for, to people that are in their mid 20s versus their mid 30s. That's not always the case. I have friends that are also my age, but generally speaking, I tend to relate more to people that are younger than me because that's kind of where I am in my finding myself in personal growth. And that's not, because I'm an immature person or because, there's something, wrong about me that's my fault. It's what happened. So I totally get that. And I'm way behind on chat, so let me catch up. Maharishi. Call me Rishi. Awesome. Hi, Rishi. I'm very glad to see you. I've seen you a lot, and we've sort of passed each other on Twitter a lot, but I haven't had much opportunity to talk to you directly, so I'm really glad you're here. Seen you a bit on Saito's streams, and you seem awesome. Still just don't get physical attraction, and that's totally fine. Like we said, I mean, there are ace people who that's just not a thing, and that's okay. It's very opposite from how my brain works, but that's not a bad thing at all. It just is what it is. And I have a lot of ace friends. Tend to be a lot more sapiosexual in that I'm attracted to the brains. Yeah, that's fair. Totally fair. Saw people on Twitter bashing being sapiosexual. I'm just like, what? And these were people I like. Yeah, that's... I don't know. That's kind of weird to me. As far as I'm concerned, if you're humans and you're attracted to each other, awesome. And assuming, a couple of little things like, being at least 18, things like that. But generally speaking, if you're adult, if it's truly consensual, no manipulation or anything like that involved, and you're humans, then cool, good for you. Raven were mental age Twitters, yeah. Yeah, I think that's also why Rowan and I get along so well. 'Cause she is, oh, this is really embarrassing. Pretty sure she's 24. I'm terrible at remembering people's ages. Hell, half the time I have to remind myself, like, wait, how old am I? Because I'll get 1 year mixed up. Like, am I 35 yet, or am I still 34? Oh yeah, no, I'm 34. I'm pretty sure Rowan's 24, because we're almost exactly 10 years apart, if I remember correctly. Though very soon she'll be 25, which I'm excited about. Her birthday's coming up. Anyways, we're just about 10 years apart, and I think it's one of the reasons we get along so well is because, yeah, for 10 years I didn't really get to progress. Physically I'm 34, but I still feel like I'm in my mid-20s. 29, yeah. I think her birthday's coming this month. Yeah, it's this month. It's, again, I'm terrible with dates, but it's sometime after she gets back from Winter Fair. So I'll have to double check the exact date, but it's sometime next week, I'm pretty sure. I have her birthday present on the way. I'm really excited about it. People are going to bash others for who they are, which is why you have farts that want to remove the T from LGBTAQ+. Excuse me. Yes, which is ridiculous. Without going on too much of a rant on that topic, because it can be heated, and I don't want to get bogged down in that. But but I do think it is really, really silly, especially for groups of people who are all, you know, we've all been through hell for being who we are. We're all basically a minority, and in one regard or another. And there's lots of people out there that would love for us to not exist. So why on earth would you divide yourselves? It just blows my mind. I can't think of any valid, even remotely valid reason to take any letters out of LGBTQA plus. All of the extra ones on there. Yeah, blows my mind. Anyways, so some people have come in since I've asked the question. So the question of the day is: do you like coffee or tea? Which one do you prefer, and why? And also, neither is also a valid answer if you don't like either of them. But I'm curious. So for Rishi, M, if you're still here, Riley, I think that's all the new people in chat that I haven't asked this question to yet. But also anybody else, feel free to answer. Coffee, but I enjoy tea at times. That's pretty much me. I'm currently drinking coffee. I drink coffee all the time, but there are some times that I like tea. I haven't had coffee, so I guess I default to tea. That's totally fair, Em. Drink it black. Nice. Depends on my mood. If I'm in the I just need coffee to wake up and function, then a lot of times I'll do a little bit of milk and sugar. But if I'm taking my time to enjoy the coffee, especially if it's like a dessert or something like that, I'll drink it black. Answer must be submitted in Times New Roman size 12 font and double spaced. Yes, and references cited, please, in the footnotes. Ginger tea is the bomb. I'm trying to think. I don't think I've ever actually had a legit ginger tea. Most teas that I have are either black tea or green tea. I haven't done a whole lot of herbal stuff. References cited. Say the sources. Some say it's jasmine tea. Yes, jasmine tea is my favorite. Coffee would be my preference, I think, but I don't drink much of either. Totally fair. I'm pretty sure I'm just like genetically hardwired to be obsessed about coffee since I've craved it since I was like 5. Ginger anything is usually dang good. Hot ginger milk, try it. Ooh, that would be good. One thing I love about having an espresso machine, especially with being with having a lot of friends who don't drink coffee, either for personal or religious reasons, is the espresso machine doesn't just do espresso; it has that steam wand. So I've been able to make hot chocolate or different flavored steam milks for people that are just so much better than the mixed hot chocolates or stovetop hot chocolate that people are used to. And it's been really fun to be able to share that, even though we both don't drink we don't both drink coffee. Still share similar beverages that way, because steamed milk beverages are so much better than just like heating up hot cocoa in a microwave or even on the stove. Which actually, there's a really cool scientific reason why that is. Without going into too many boring details, the process of steaming it chemically changes the milk to make it sweeter than just applying heat to it. It stretches certain things in the milk that make it some of the I forget the word, but it converts something in there to sugars, which is why the milk is sweeter because it's been steamed versus just heated up. One of the things I don't like when papers don't cite good sources. Yeah, like sometimes I'll read an article that references another article. Then you go through the rabbit hole trying to find the actual source. Yeah, generally I try not to reference articles as a source. I will generally reference their source, unless the article is an expert, written by an expert, in which case it's fine. I basically treat that as a paper. Though I don't usually write a whole lot where I need to cite references or haven't in a while. But when I do, that's what I go for. Agreed, steam milk is wonderful. Yes. Then you. Oh, and that's Ravenbot. Okay, I'm caught up on chat. Yay. This has been so weird. I've only been streaming full time for a handful of months, and I'm not used to chat being so active. So the fact that I'm having to catch up on chat is blowing my mind. Yeah, that's really weird. In a good way. If it's written by an expert, that's a completely different... Yeah. Lactose is the sugar that is disassociated with high heat of steam. Yes, that's it. Yeah, I don't know if it's ADD or just the fact that I consume so many random facts, but I've noticed or it could be the PTSD for that matter. I tend to have lots of things where I'm like, oh yeah, I know this, and I remember like half of it, and then I kind of have to concentrate for a while or look something up to get the other half. And so I'm like, yeah, it's this thing that I can't remember the word for, but it does this other thing. Awesome, yeah, same. Oh, welcome back, Buggy. Gwen, thanks for liking my Christmas tweet. There's a Christmas tweet? I have to find it now so I can go like it. Wait, it's not showing up readily, so I'm gonna search for it. Some fine Photoshop? I'm excited. Let me look up Buggy. That's amazing. So if you're not already following Buggy, it is... Go to... I'll just type out the link. Buggy 277. Yep. Go there and check out this this phenomenal Photoshop job. That's fantastic. No worries, Em. I could be funny from time to time. You, Buggy, be funny? I don't know. That doesn't sound right. You're always funny. Speaking of funny, I'm super excited for Monday. Well, I'm sad and excited. Yeah, that's pushing it. I'm sad because it's the last episode of season 1, possibly the last episode ever of The Peasant Strike Back, and it's been such a phenomenal show. I did not expect it to go that big or be that huge of a thing. That's a good point. If you are interested in seeing season 2 of Peasants, definitely on Twitter you can @ me or just do the hashtag Peasants2. Because if we do get enough interest, I really do want to do a season 2 of Peasants. I think it'd be amazing, and I love that show. Just double checking the thing for Thursday going to be happening with me. The thing for Thursday. Oh, I'm glad you reminded me. We are planning on doing Star Chaser on Thursday, and then we just needed to remind me. We needed to start 30 minutes later. Was that right? Speaking of streaming things, do you have any one-time slots open still? I do. I will pretty much always have one-time slots open, or one-shot spots open now, because every Friday is going to be community games that are one-shots. So I have DM slots open, and I have player spots open. Let me grab the link for you to see the schedule. So yeah, starting 30 minutes later. Yeah, Gwen, if you're still there, are you good to start 30 minutes later on Star Chaser this week if so we can get Michael in there for a guest spot. Yeah, Buggy's Christmas Boogaloo does have one open. I'm grabbing the link now for the schedule. We've got a couple of campaign slots open too for season 3. So real quickly for that, we have one spot open for Lightbringer, which will be on Mondays. One spot open for Hunters of Calamity, which is inspired by Borderlands. So there's one spot open for that one. And then I do have a very specific role open for Legends of the Badlands, which is on Saturdays. If someone's interested in playing that, it's not your typical character. If nobody signs up for it, then I'm just going to do it myself as the game master. But without giving away too many spoilers, there will be a sort of we'll call it an artificial intelligence type of character. So you won't really necessarily be running around with everyone, but you will be communicating. So if somebody wants to play that, they are welcome to. And that is the spot I have open for that. But as far as one-shots go, there are several. I actually need DMs for that as well. Copy link, can view. Sorry, it's a long link, but that'll take you to the sheet, and there's little tabs at the bottom. So for the one-shots, the Friday community games, if you click on that, that's what's open. So I need... we've got a GM for the 13th. Gwen is going to GM that one. But there's a couple player spots open. There's one spot open for Buggy's Christmas thing on the 20th, which is going to be a big game. We've already got 5 players for that. And some super awesome people coming in on that game that haven't been on the channel yet. So Sai-Chai and Renee. Oh, hey, Ray. Hey. Thanks, Nerdsmith. How was your stream? What were you streaming? I'm assuming tabletop, but what were you playing? Arlene, this is your benefit. Thanks. DRPG or talk show? Oh, cool. Cool. I haven't caught that one. We went a half hour over. Oh, no worries. I do that frequently with shows. But yeah, thank you so much for that raid. I greatly appreciate it. I would be happy to. Yeah, shoot me a DM on Discord or Twitter every Wednesday at noon. Yeah, this show just started. I'm going to do this every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Mountain Time. But given that it's not a show that has a cast, I can be a little bit flexible with it. So if I need to move the time around one day, I can do that. Yeah, I would love to be on a tabletop talk show. Actually, I just had somebody recently that's working on building one of those do a sort of getting to know you interview with me. And looks like I'll probably be on that. I'm not going to say who and where and when and everything, because I think they're still working on everything, and I don't want to say too much until they're ready to talk about it. But yeah, it's so funny that you mentioned that, because I just was talking to someone about possibly doing that. I would love to. Very cool. Well, thank you for the raid. Welcome to everybody who came over on the raid. If you are new to the channel, feel free to hit the follow button and join the guild. I do primarily tabletop RPG. Starting in January, that's going to be every single night except for Sundays. We'll have a tabletop RPG show. We do a lot of persistent campaigns, and then every Friday we do... Thanks for that follow. I'm terrible at pronouncing names. Mulder? Correct me if I said that wrong. But yeah, we do every Friday we do community games. So there's Friday one-shots if you'd like to get in on that. We highly encourage new players and new game masters. So if you want to try your hand at sitting in the hot seat, let me know and we'll get you a game. But other than that, Thursday nights we're going to be doing a video game show. So that one's actually not a tabletop night. So Thursdays won't be, but that's mostly because it's the same time as Critical Role. So doing something a little different than tabletop for that time slot. And then yeah, every Wednesday we're going to be doing this Blackfeather Tavern, which is basically a chance to just hop on. You can talk about yourself all you want to, what's going on in your life, if you got something that's bugging you or something you need to vent. The idea is for it to be just like going to your local bar, pub, tavern, coffee shop, whatever, and talking to your bartender or barista or the other regulars that are there. It's a way for people to socialize and sort of get that support system, especially for people who don't have the opportunity to do that physically, either because of physical limitations or financial limitations to go out to those places. So it's kind of the whole concept behind this, and yeah, it's just grab a drink. It's pretty chill and chat. And also thank you for the follow, Battle Weaver Ivan. Welcome to the guild. And then yeah, if you have music suggestions, feel free to DM me on Twitter. I'm so glad you like it. My Twitter is, I should really put that up on the screen, or just fix my command for it so it sends the right one. But I've been lazy. So that's my Twitter. I'm on there constantly. So feel free to shoot me a DM there with music suggestions. The only limitation is I'm trying to keep it to ones that don't have the digital rights stuff to where it'll mute the whole audio for the stream. Because I do like to put the videos onto YouTube. So that's why you'll hear on the stream right now we're listening to a lot of the consoles and the one-ups, Taylor Davis. It's a lot of covers of video game music because they're awesome for one. I've got something in my eye. Ow. They're awesome for one, and two, I don't have to worry about the stream getting muted. Yeah, thanks. I lost my train of thought, which is also something that happens pretty commonly. I was talking about the Friday community one-shots. Yeah, season 2, of course, is full. Yeah, on that sheet that I linked, there is... I'll pop the link in there again since we just had a raid. So this is what we're talking about. It's the channel schedule for the Blackfeather Guild. There will be some occasional one-shots where we can't do a show on a certain day for a certain reason, so I may throw open up a one-shot for that. That's the special one-shots. Right now that one's full. That one also has the one that we're doing on the 16th has some people that are going to be brand new to the channel, which I'm really excited about. Sassy with Sander will be on, and that will be their first time on the stream. And Agent Boss, I think the 16th is the first one that they're going to be on as well. And we'll have some repeat folks like Yasmin and Atomic Firebird or Ren popping on for that day too. So there's some cool stuff coming up. But yeah, take a look at that link if you're interested in getting into a game. And if there's a spot open, just let me know you'd like it, and I'll get you in there. Pull this back up. There we go. And the question we've been asking everybody today is, do you prefer coffee or do you prefer tea, and why? You can also say I don't like either one, and that's perfectly fine too. I hear that Boogaloo is kind of dope. Yeah, I have heard that. The GM for the Buggies Christmas Boogaloo is a pretty awesome person. In no way related to Team Totem. She said sarcastically. Love my coffee and ice cream or milkshake frappuccinos. That's about it. That is a very valid way to drink coffee. I do love a coffee milkshake from time to time. I already can't read. I'm pretty sure you could read, Buggy. That's how you're communicating right now. One of my favorite things to do with ice cream and coffee, it was this drink that I picked up in a little, it was a sort of a cafe slash bar when I was in college, living in South Carolina. It was a Cuban cafe, and they did this thing called a cappuccino float, is what they called it. But it's 3 small, really tightly packed balls of ice cream, vanilla, to be precise. And then they would dump a couple shots of espresso on top of that, and then they would top it off with milk. It was like, I don't know, maybe a couple of ounces of milk on top of that. Top all that with whipped cream, and then just a heavy dusting of cinnamon. And the cool thing about it was, I'd usually drink it with a straw, and so you're getting the sweet vanilla ice cream and the the strong bitter espresso and all that jazz coming through the straw. Because there's so much cinnamon on top, you're inhaling the cinnamon, so you taste it even though you're not actually consuming it until the very end. And then at the end of drinking all of that, you usually had some melted ice cream and the whipped cream, and then tons of cinnamon at the bottom, which I'd usually just pull the straw out, down that. And so it's like this super sweet cinnamon, almost fried ice cream kind of flavor. It was really cool. So I don't have those very often, but every once in a while I'll be like, I want to have one of those drinks, so I'll make one. Debatable, wait, yeah. I'm not sure if that was failing the deception roll or just that my insight roll was really high, but yeah, that happened, Buggy, sorry. But yeah, like I said, we'll pretty chill stream. We'll talk about whatever. If anybody wants to talk about themselves or a project that they're working on, or if you want to share something really crappy that happened to you recently that you'd love to vent about, you're welcome to do that too. The idea is for it to be a pretty safe space to talk about whatever you need to talk about. Whether that's sharing something cool and wanting to share that excitement with people, or just needing to say, hey, I had a lousy day and this is what happened. That is okay too. We were also talking about random stuff on Twitter that was going on as well. I made speaking of Twitter, mine is really blowing up today. We were talking about a tweet I said earlier about how flirting in relationships can be kind of weird, and kind of wondering, why is that so weird? So the whole concept is, if you have a platonic friendship with somebody, and you're good friends, but maybe one person is attracted to the other romantically as well. Why is it normal, or at least perceived as normal, that expressing that attraction means ending the friendship entirely if it's not reciprocated? So the whole thread was kind of like, why is having open and honest communication with your friend, such a risk? Kind of the analogy was thinking it should be akin more to saying, hey, do you want to be in a band together? Because I think that would be really cool, and I would love to do that with you. Because I kind of figured, starting a band together and dating is about the same level of commitment, just in different ways. So that was the best analogy I could come up with. But why isn't it akin to saying that and then having the other person say, nah, I wouldn't be interested in that, and going, okay, all right, well, this is just a thought, and moving on. So that was kind of the whole thread. And there's been a lot of really interesting thoughts on that, which is what I wanted to do. I was a little nervous about posting that thread too, because it's not something I usually go in depth about. But also worrying about people taking it the wrong way, thinking it's my subtle way of hinting that I wanted to flirt with someone that way, or express that attraction to somebody, which is not the case. But it's been really interesting. We've gotten a lot of really cool perspectives from those who are pan, bi, ace, and all kinds of stuff. So it's been pretty cool. What's your Twitter, yo? At the Raven. I think, yep, you are correct. It is twitter.com/TheRAVVYN. There you go. And I am on there pretty much 24/7. The only exceptions being when I'm asleep, pretty much. Maybe a couple other times, but for for the most part, I'm on there 24/7. So if you tweet me and I'm not in a stream or asleep, I should respond pretty quickly. Maybe some people are uncomfortable with being liked. That's a good point. I know I used to be that way quite a bit. It was really weird for me when people were attracted to me. And there's a whole lot of reasons for that. For me, especially during that time, it was a lot of emotional abuse and things like that going on, things that led to me having PTSD. So that certainly affected the my reactions to people that were like, "Hey, I find you attractive," and it being like, "That's weird." Mostly because I didn't love myself at the time. So for someone else to express that kind of attraction was just so foreign to me. Now, not so much. If somebody came up to me and was like, "Hey, I'm really attracted to you," I'd be like, "Wow, that's really flattering, thanks." And if I shared the attraction, I would express that. If not, I would say, "Sorry, I don't feel the same way, but I'm very flattered by it, and I would love to be friends." Why do you think those type of romantic conversations are awkward? That was kind of my question too. And one of my theories was like, is it because that's what we're shown all the time? Like you look at hell, people have made entire TV series about that tension of the person going, should I tell them? Should I not tell them? Should I keep it a secret? Should I not keep it a secret? And sort of that, hanging on that romantic tension and making an entire show about that. But also movies and things like that too. So my theory was, is that why? Is it because we're taught to not have that open and honest communication with each other about everything? Because as at least in America, as a society, we're often taught to be pretty closed off emotionally from each other. And intimacy is pretty much frowned upon unless you are, in a long-term relationship or marriage. So that could be part of it. It could also be because of and I tend to try to stay away from the whole men are garbage type arguments, because I don't think all guys are that way, and I don't like getting bogged down into that because that's a very controversial topic. But I can say that typically you'll hear more stories about men reacting very poorly to being rejected than women, and I think that could be part of the reason why it's very uncomfortable to share those feelings of attraction or have them shared with you, and it be kind of awkward like that because of a fear of. And I know for a lot of women that I've talked to, it's a very real fear of like, okay, if I reject them, they're going to be really weird about it and confrontational. So that could be a contributing factor. I don't know. Those were my thoughts, but I don't know for sure that that's the reason, which is why I was really curious to see what other people think. Somebody did suggest that the heterosexuals were the ones that messed that up. I think they were kind of thinking along similar lines there. So yeah, that's one conversation that we've had today too. Also talked a lot about food. But yeah, for anybody that has an opinion on the topic that hasn't already expressed it, I am interested to know what you all think. And that tweet thread has certainly had more interaction than I expected, and largely positive too, which was relieving for me because for about a solid 30 minutes after I sent all those tweets, I was like, should I have done that? Was that okay? Are people gonna look at me weird now? I was pretty nervous about it. I know when I've broken up with people, I refuse to interact with them for a few weeks because your feelings can less you to have. cause you to have unrealistic expectations, and continued communication has usually ended up in destroyed relationships. I don't know if the same with before you get into a relationship though, or can lead you to. Gotcha. That makes sense. That makes total sense. I can certainly understand that, because at that point you've ended one type of relationship, so you have to have time to transition to a different kind. Much in the same way, the opposite route. So if you did express attraction to somebody and they felt the same way, and you'd been platonic friends, you would have a certain period of time where you're transitioning to a romantic relationship. It's not just like a flipping a switch. There's new things to learn about the other person, new ways to interact that you're not used to. That's why dating is a thing, is because it allows you to sort of make that transition to romantic relationship and significant other and whatnot. So no, that makes total sense. For me, it's more of the why is having that open, honest communication so awkward and such a risk, to where if you said to somebody, "I find you attractive," suddenly it's all or nothing. And the argument that I made was like, you still have the same interests, you're still the same person. If you've had a solid friendship prior to that, you still care about each other. That there's really no reason for that to change. So why would your relationship change just from kind of getting on the same page, RE attraction? And yeah, there's some good points about, how did Riley put it? People being uncomfortable with being liked, that sort of thing. That's a totally valid point. But I've always have been, and always will be a big proponent for being more open and honest and communicative with people on any topic. Because I think a lot of misunderstandings, a lot of arguments, a lot of hatreds, for that matter, can be taken care of by having more open and honest communication. So I suppose you could say that I am very pro that being a normal thing, of being able to talk to somebody and say, hey, I find you attractive. I love the idea of dating you. And if you're not on the same page with that, being able to go, oh, okay, we're not on the same page. Well, now we are. We'll just move on. Move forward. Being on the same page that we're just friends, and that's okay. I did make the point too in the thread that like that kind of thing, like the oh my god, they don't like me back, it's all over, kind of makes sense in high school, because we're all stupid in high school. I don't care who you are, you were stupid in high school. Everybody is. It's a rite of passage, because you got so much going on physically, and your brain developing, and everything's dramatic because you're that age. And part of that might be the part of that problem might be that, at least in America as a culture, we have somehow managed to extend high school culture into adulthood, which is the most ridiculous thing I've ever thought of in my life or heard of in my life. You see it a lot in workplaces where there's like petty high school style politics in the workplace, which is it's stupid. Just be adults, if you're an adult. So that might be part of it too, just as another thought. Maybe it's also fear of transition. Your relation does change a little because in person A, they've had this hope that something more can happen, and now they have to transition to being okay with them not sharing those feelings, if they haven't previously accepted that possibility. Agree, we are all stupid in high school. Yeah, yeah. That's a good point too. It could take a certain level of emotional maturity to be able to accept that, I was rejected, and I have to be okay with that. So that could be a factor as well. And perhaps I am a little out of touch with that, as like I mentioned, a lot of ways my personal growth was sort of stunted for 10 years because of my situation. So I feel more mentally and emotionally around 24 than I do 34. But I've also been through a marriage and a divorce, which has given me certain unique perspectives. So that could be part of it too. I could be out of touch with how others are feeling with that. Sorry, my phone is continuing to blow up, which is interesting. Holy cow, I have 32 notifications on Twitter. I don't think I've ever had that many this time of day. It's wild. I'll have to catch up on all those once the stream's over. Speaking of which, we've been going for about 2 hours. I am perfectly fine to keep going for a while, but I am sort of trying to figure out how long to do these streams. I like the idea of open communication, but like I said before, the high school mentality has been extended. So it can be extremely scary to be that open and vulnerable when many people may not be on that same level. That's very, very valid point. So maybe the problem isn't so much that that we can't be open and honest about our communicating our feelings. It could just be that high school mentality is so prevalent in all of us as adults. Oh my god, so popular. I read that in the Wicked song tone. Like, I heard it in my head. Well done. I'm not even going to try to sing that. But well done. So yeah, maybe that's part of the problem is it's everybody's stuck in high school. And we all need to learn how to be adults, I guess. We all be meaning everyone as a generalization. Oh, that's a really interesting thought. And there's definitely examples of that we can see in everyday life. I already mentioned in the office place, a lot of corporate offices act like a high school. You know, you've got the popular ones who get the promotion regardless of their grades, if you will. It's because of who they know, or who they like, or who they share interests with. In some cases, who they're sleeping with, which is horrible. It's a horrible reason to promote somebody. Yeah, so as it should be. What was the as it should be referring to? I'm sure I don't disagree with you. I was just curious what it was referring to, because I just said a bunch of stuff, and then I looked down and saw as it should be. I'm like, oh crap. What was that in reference to? So yeah, that's interesting. I've often thought about how ridiculous high school is, and the fact that it's supposed to prepare you for the real world, and it may be that that problem has extended to, in preparing everyone for the real world, it's conditioned everyone to treat the real world like high school later, which is a problem, because high school is toxic for most people. The answer, we still feed our inner high school students. Yes. Gotta say popular. Yep. Struggles stream chat, yeah. It's like, oh yeah, I just mentioned like 5 things that could apply to. Crap, which one was it? Yeah, that's a really interesting point. It could be because of we've just extended the horror, the nightmare that is high school mentality to every aspect of our life, which is terrifying to think about. Maybe the boomers gave us generational trauma that stunted our emotional growth. I mean, that's literally what happened for me, though that is funny. So my trauma comes from my family, specifically the person who contributed the sperm to the equation, because I don't actually call them a father. And he happens to be a boomer, so that makes sense. So for me, that's literal, but I get the joke and it's funny. I'm sure for blaming the boomers, or I'm sure for blaming the boomers, I think is how that's supposed to be said. Down, gotcha. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I've known some amazing boomers, but yeah, there is a lot of that thing. That's sort of the problem with the whole generalization thing is you can generalize something because a majority of that particular group is a certain way, but then you always have people that go, well, I'm not that way, and I'm part of that group, and it's fine. I think part of that is you have to on both sides. On one side, be aware that you're making a generalization. You kind of need to make that disclaimer of I'm making a generalization. I don't mean literally everybody. I'm talking about the majority of people that are this way, and on the flip side of that, realizing like, okay, this person is making a generalization. They're not meaning me, unless it's obvious that they are making a generalization as a blanket statement. They don't care about the differences. There's subtlety there, I guess. But that's why when I make generalizations, I always try to say like, hey, this is a generalization. I understand not everybody is part of this group. It's just a majority are, and this is the particular part of that group that I'm talking about. As annoying as disclaimers are, I find they're actually quite useful in that whole open and honest communication thing that we were talking about. Still serious though, because a boomer traumatized me too. But yeah, I joked with the generalization. Yeah. Humor is certainly the millennial coping mechanism in a lot of ways. Without going too much into the whole generational war thing going on, I have noticed millennials, so people my age and younger that are adults pretty much at this point, because I'm on the older end of millennial, but still there. I think the oldest millennial right now is 38. I think that's where the cutoff is. Not that important, anyways. But yeah, I'm on the older end, and I've noticed everybody that I'm friends with, which is my age or up to Generation Z, we do tend to use sarcasm and humor as a coping mechanism a lot. Which is a whole other tangent. Speaking of tangents, I don't remember where the train track was at this point for that train of thought, but this has been a really interesting conversation. Oh yeah, it was relationships and why it's weird to tell people you're attracted to them. But anyways, does anybody else have something that's interesting going on in their lives? It can be exciting, interesting, or like I'm dreading this interesting. Because like I said, a lot about this stream is so that you all can get a chance to talk, and you can vent to me or to the rest of chat. I'm not. I like to think I'm somewhat wise, but I'm certainly not the wisest person in the world. But if you did want to ask my advice, I'd be happy to help however I can on anything. Wisdom was not my dump stat. It's just not my highest one. And there's always that streamer delay where it's like, I'm going to ask everybody a question that's watching, and then I'm going to have to wait like, anywhere from 5 to 30 seconds of awkward silence while I wait for the chat to, or the stream to catch up to the chat. It's like standing in an elevator with a bunch of people while you're waiting for it to go up. It's just like, so here we are in an elevator and suddenly have nothing to talk about. How do I overcome guilt for pursuing my dream? Oof. That's a big one. When I figure that out, I will let you know. Because I'm still there too. That's actually something I've been really struggling with recently, and or I guess not so much struggling with as it is processing. Is the whole concept that it's okay for people to help me, and it doesn't mean that I'm a burden to everyone. I was taught in a rather unhealthy way that I needed to be self-sufficient growing up. I mean, there are certainly healthy ways of approaching being self-sufficient and independent. That is a positive thing. But I was taught in such a way that was very negative and toxic and unhealthy. And so I've been processing recently. Like, it's okay for people to help me. Like, it's okay that I'm not making enough right now to pay rent, because I have friends who are very generous and willing to help me, and that's okay. Because it doesn't mean that I'm some sort of failure or that I'm not doing enough. Because I have to stop and realize, like, I'm working 50 to 60 hours a week trying to build something that eventually will support me. And so, yeah, I know what you mean. I still struggle with that. Like, I need to do more. I need to do more. I need to be more successful at this, or I need to build it faster. And it's incredibly unhealthy. But I've been able to recently kind of realize that, like, hey, these are really bad thoughts. I shouldn't have these, or not so much shouldn't have them as I shouldn't listen to them. I shouldn't dwell on that or buy into it. So I've been able to recently recognize, like, oh yeah, this is a product of my upbringing and it's bad. I need to acknowledge that it's there and move on. So that might help a little bit. I'm still struggling with that, but that is a recent realization that I've made. Need Jeopardy music for those awkward breaks between stream and chat. Oh, that's awesome. I actually have I have notes I'm taking down of sound commands that I need to add. So I will add that to the mix. There's some cool ones already that you can do, by the way. I'll post that in chat here. So there's one just for subscribers, and there's ones for that everybody can do. And then there's just really fun ones that only I can do, like this one. Me and mods, that is.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
So those are ones for just mods. Because it's really funny to play that after somebody gets banned. Oh, there's also this one too. Because I'm a fairy tale fan. Oops. I think this is it. That's it. That usually gets played before somebody gets banned. And M says, people that refuse to accept my help are the most infuriating, to be honest. It's like, hey, I love you a lot. I want to see you succeed. Take my money. And then they're all like, no, I can't do that. I refuse to be in debt. Dummy, it's a gift because I love you. Yes. I completely understand that. Which is, it's funny, I get furious at myself because I'm the same way on both sides. I love helping people. When I had money to give, when I had a really good job and I was stable, I was like, please, here, take my money. Let me help you. I love helping others. It gives me an enormous amount of satisfaction and fulfillment to see somebody that needs something and be able to fill that need for them. And it would infuriate me when they'd be like, no, I can't accept them. Like, I can't pay that back. I'm like, you don't have to, just take it. But I'm the exact same way on the opposite side. When somebody wants to give me money, I'm like, what? But I can't pay that back. And it's okay, it's a gift. Okay. Even when people tell me a gift, in my mind, I'm like, well, I need to pay that back at some point. I need to do something nice for them to pay that back. And it's a horrible mentality. Yeah, a lot of it is because I was taught most of my life that nothing I ever did was ever good enough. I always needed to be doing more, and that feeds in heavily to that sort of I feel super guilty for accepting help, and it's a very toxic and unhealthy way to think. Yeah, M's great. But the cool thing is recently I've been in a spot, and in large part thanks to help of others, for Rowan and Jared for giving me a place to live without having to worry about rent, without having to be in a lot of situations that I was in before. It's given me the safe and healthy space I needed to process a lot of stuff, and so I've been able to recognize, like, oh hey, that's a horrible toxic thought. I need to not listen to that. So yeah, I guess that sort of is the answer to how do I overcome guilt for pursuing my dreams, is recognize that the guilt is there, It's certainly not healthy to ignore it or pretend it doesn't exist, because it absolutely does. So acknowledge it, but also realize like, hey, that's not a healthy thought. That's not something that's good for me or something that's even valid, because I know, especially for folks like me who have mental conditions like PTSDs for me, or ADD or anything else, anxiety, depression. A lot of times we can have thoughts that are not rational, and they just happen. It's not something that you can control exactly. You can't control having an irrational thought, but what you can control is what you do with that irrational thought, in a lot of cases. That again was a blanket statement that I should clarify is not the case for everything, and I'm certainly nowhere near being a psychiatrist or anything like that, but generally speaking, if you have an irrational thought, most of the time you can control what you do about it, which is either listen to it, give into it, or you can you can go, okay, no, that's an irrational thought, it's still there, I have to deal with it, but I don't have to act on it, if that makes sense. And that's a lot easier said than done in a lot of cases, but that's kind of the conclusion I've come to recently. But yeah, everyone else feel free. Looks like we've got 10 folks in chat right now, or watching. And if you are just lurking, that's totally okay. I don't say that to try to pressure anybody to talking. But just there is that open invitation. If you do want to talk about literally anything, as long as it is Twitch terms of service appropriate, you're more than welcome to. One day it will sink in for me. Same. One day I'll get there where I tell myself all those things and it actually sticks. Why does Buffer? Why? Because of interwebs and decrees from the elders of the internet and Ethernet cables and other technical terms. Why does Buffer? Why? That's so funny. I was gonna go somewhere with spring off of that topic onto something else, and yeah, I really don't remember what I was gonna mention other than just feel free to talk about stuff. That is another thing though. I do have ADD. I was diagnosed with it as a young child, and my family kind of took it as it's not so much that I have a condition that needs to be medicated out of me. It's that I'm not being challenged enough with my learning, because it was a problem in school. I wasn't diagnosed with ADHD, like I'm not hyperactive, never really was, but my attention span does tend to bounce around quite a lot, which is fantastic when it can be harnessed for creative purposes, because I've met a lot of creative people with ADD, and our ability to multitask is a force to be reckoned with when we have the ability to harness it. Problem is harnessing that is not always easy. Anyway, so point is, you'll probably hear me go, what was I talking about again? Oh yeah, that's what it was. I'm going to lose my train of thought a lot. Just preparing you. I think to overcome guilt for your job choice, you should consider what you really prioritize in life, and whether or not that profession will lead you to those priorities, if that makes sense. That's a good point. Have any resource suggestions or examples, please? That is a really good point. And that's something that I've talked a little bit about in other places recently as well. So for those of you that don't know me that well, before I started doing this, over the past couple of years, my jobs have included head of content for a company, where basically I was going to be in charge of all the content for their website, their educational content, anything that was in text was going to have my fingerprints on it, basically. It was a fantastic job where I was making six figures a year, utilizing my degree, and finally getting to a point where I could write for a living. It was phenomenal. However, it was also Amazon Business Consulting, and that tends to suck the life out of you. So it was going to be great with the writing part of it, but before I got to that point, it was a lot of business consulting, which, teaching is kind of fun. I kind of enjoy that, but it was still a lot of stuff that just corporate business greedy stuff. Didn't really get a lot of fulfillment out of it. So that job was fantastic, though. I made a ton of money. It allowed me to kind of recover from getting a divorce and being in some weird situations with that, and allowed me to get a really nice place that I was able to use to recover from a lot of trauma. But the company got shut down unexpectedly, suddenly. I found myself without a job. So then I helped with a couple startups where, I had, executive level titles. One company that grew to be a pretty successful small company for a little while, where I was the chief operations officer. So I actually had, COO on my resume. And I've done a lot of project management jobs and business related things prior to that. The whole reason I'm streaming now is because that company got to a point where it hadn't made a sale in 3 months. And this sounds like I'm making excuses, but that was not my department. So basically just to say that it wasn't because I didn't go out and sell. My whole job was to keep the company running. There's the sales side. For whatever reason, they didn't make a sale for 3 months. Got to a point where there was no money to continue paying me, and that was my full-time job. And my expenses were somewhat high because I was coming off of that, $50 an hour job. And there's only so many things you can cut back when you're in an apartment lease. Anyways, that whole point of that is to say, I come from a business background. I have a bachelor's of business administration. Almost right out of college, I started a business and ran it for 5 years successfully, doing social media management. Point of saying all that is recently I realized I absolutely hate all of that. Even when I was working for myself, being successful, I took no joy in it, and it just, I felt like I was constantly having to worry about and try to avoid screwing people over, because that's so much of what business is anymore. But really, honestly, the only way to get ahead in business without a whole lot of heartache and work and exhausting yourself is by screwing somebody else over. And that's just been my experience in the corporate world. And there are plenty of people who have no problem taking advantage of that. It's especially horrible also if you're empathic like I am. And I don't mean like Counselor Troy from Star Trek, just that other people's emotions around me heavily affect me. If somebody is super depressed and is sort of not dealing with that depression, if I am around them, I will feel that depression, regardless of whether or not I am depressed. If somebody's angry, because of the trauma I went through, I will generally become frightened or uncomfortable. But I feel that anger. It's not just like I read their body language. I can physically feel how they're angry. So applying that to a business world where everybody's, looking out for number one and potentially trying to backstab you, it's horrible. So that tangent aside, I was forced to try to find another job, and 250 job applications plus later, a couple dozen interviews later, got to a point where I literally could not find a job, despite my best efforts. And I've never had trouble getting a job before, and I took that as a sign that, hey, that's not what you're supposed to be doing anymore. I started streaming, doing tabletop, writing more, and through all this, I have found just an enormous amount of people who have been through similar situations as me, who are trying to process through things, trying to deal with things like depression, anxiety, PTSD, all kinds of stuff. And I found that I've been able to help them through sharing my own experiences, and through building this community where people can help each other. And so that is going back to the point of, what's your priority or reason for doing this? Obviously, I want to be able to support myself financially, but I'm not in this to get rich or become a famous, streamer who has huge influence over things. My main goal is to build a community that supports each other, because I know so many people that don't have any other kind of support system. And I've been happier doing this than I've ever been in my life. Sort of found my calling, if you will. And realizing that too, and kind of going back to those thoughts of realizing like, hey, I'm actually making a difference. I'm helping people. I'm bringing, more positivity into the world, a world that desperately needs more positivity. Yeah, that makes it worth it to me, even if I am, dirt poor in the process. Though having a business background, it's been really nice to be able to apply that to, these things. I can read analytics, I can read trends, I can, I know branding and marketing are necessary, despite that not being, where I want my focus to be. And I can tell, yeah, the channel is growing. What I'm doing is working from a business standpoint. It's slower than I would like, but realistically, it's actually not that slow. So it has been really interesting to be able to take my past experience in education and skills for a field that I no longer have any interest in being in, but apply that to something that I'm trying to build, which I am extremely passionate about. So hopefully that wasn't too much rambling in there to answer the question or comment on that. Let me catch back up with chat because I talked for a long time there. M said, for me, I translate not because I love the job or anything, but it gives me the opportunity to stay home with my family, which is my priority. That makes sense. If your priority is to follow a passion, make money, be with your family or whatever, whatever it is, you should follow it. It can be hard to recognize what your priorities are if you don't spend time to ponder it. Yes. What do you really want in life? I had a Chinese teacher who was a Chinese financial consultant, and he made way more money doing that than teaching, but he hated it and said he was way happier being a teacher because that's what he actually wanted to do. Exactly. That's where I am. And then Riley says, when M is Iro, who are you and what do you want? Oh, yeah. My young nephew, come try some relaxing ginger milk. It's delicious. That's amazing. And then Riley said, I'm very grateful for your platform, Raven. Thank you. I'm very grateful for you. For real, my favorite thing is to find people with a little experience with LGBTQA+, and talk about how awesome my friends are from that community. Oh, thank you. How does one separate expectations placed on them from their own priorities? Again, when I figure that out, I will be sure to let you know. You're asking so many questions that I also have. That's a tough one. I think being very secure in your priorities, which is not easy to do in and of itself, but having a firm grasp of like, this is what I want, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to get that, or to achieve that, I think has a big impact on that. My problem, kind of along those same lines, is I grew up so long having so many unrealistic expectations placed upon me that I tend to generate those on my own now. So the whole like nothing I ever did being good enough, always needing to do more, being told I'm lazy when I'm like working myself sick, things like that. All that, frankly, emotional abuse and manipulation translates to me having unrealistic expectations on myself now in adulthood. And it's really hard to separate. That's coming from my upbringing versus this is what my realistic expectation should be because this is my priority. M has shown me that I heavily relate to Zuko at this point in my life. Yeah. And so speaking of family, I have to help children with homework later. See ya, Em. Thanks so much for hanging out. It was fantastic to talk to you again, and hopefully we'll talk again soon. And yeah, check out the schedule if you want to get in on a one shot. I would love to have you in a game. Revisiting Avatar is already a good thing. Yes. That was such a good show. Avatar: The Last Airbender. So many good life lessons in there that are relatable. But yeah, expectations placed on you from your priorities, that's a really tough one to do, especially if they're family expectations. It took me a very long time to cut myself off from that. I mean, I still have some of that placed on me, but I'm finally at a point where, for the most part, I don't really care what my family's expectations are. I love my family, so I still have a relationship with my mom and grandparents. They don't know that I'm trans or bi, unfortunately, because I just can't see a universe where that conversation goes well with them, based on their own beliefs and upbringing and where they're located. So I haven't talked to them about that. I'm sure that conversation will happen eventually, but it's sort of it doesn't need to happen at the moment. I don't live anywhere remotely close to them. I don't interact with them physically. So for better or worse, right or wrong, I'm not talking to them about it yet. But I also don't really care what their expectations are anymore. My mom would, as many mothers are capable of doing, had an immense capacity for being able to guilt you about something without actually guilting you directly. Thanks for saying that's okay. Yeah, thank you. So it took me a long time to get over that whole like, if I do this thing and my mom gets upset, then my mom gets upset and she'll have to live with that. So I totally get that. Overcoming family expectations to live your own life is very difficult. Yeah. Where was I going with that? Again, the ADD brain kicks in and goes, ooh, squirrel. I don't remember, but yeah, hopefully that helps. A little bit, at least. The other easy thing was I cut my father, if you will, I use that term very loosely, out of my life, because yeah, they I generally don't talk about this publicly, so this is interesting. Previously, I've really only talked about this with close friends privately, but there's like cult level manipulation going on from late teens all the way up to my 30s. My 30s, like late 20s, actual age 30. Going on there. It was it's why I have PTSD. And it was horrible. And I won't go into all the details of it, because A, it would definitely be triggering to some people, and B, I really don't want to talk about it. But all of that, at some point I came to the realization of what exactly had been going on. And I did give them another chance. They apologized. They kind of basically said, I'll do better. I want to make up for this type of stuff and whatnot. So I did give them another chance at one point, and they royally blew it. It was like, I don't know, I can't remember exactly, like not even that long after, maybe a month or two. They tried to manipulate me again, and I was like, bye. So completely cutting somebody out of your life helps a lot. I don't really recommend that if you can avoid it. But in my case, it was a necessity. But if that does happen to be your situation where they're so toxic to you that they're a detriment to your mental health. Sometimes that's what you got to do, and that can be one way of getting rid of that that expectation weight on you. But again, that should probably be your last resort. I don't recommend it if you can avoid it. But for me personally, that is one thing that helped. I no longer talk to that person. I don't interact with them at all. And so I've been able to slowly deconstruct all those expectations they put on me over the years. I make all new ones for myself that are unhealthy because of it, but I'm working on that too. So yeah, that's a super downer topic to awkwardly stop talking on. Sorry for that. Yeah, these are really good questions and topics. Heavier than I expected to talk about in this stream, but I'm totally okay with it. And deconstructing is hard. It is. It's super hard. Yeah, it's been really interesting. This stream definitely did not quite go the direction that I expected, but I'm very okay with how it's going and what y'all are talking about, and hopefully it helps people. No, nothing to be sorry about. Don't apologize. Unexpected does not mean bad, by any means. Yeah, I am not at all bothered by the fact that we're talking about some pretty deep topics, or even personal ones for me, especially if that means somebody can get some benefit out of it. That being said, I know this is some heavy stuff. Is everyone okay in chat? We often ask this for tabletop streams because we'll cover a variety of topics. So I will pop this up there. This will pertain to tabletop, but translate that to conversations we're talking about, or topics that we're conversing about, rather. You know, if you're watching and you're okay and no worries, feel free to pop an O in chat. If this is making you uncomfortable, feel free to put a slash in chat and we'll change the topic. Especially if it's super uncomfortable to a point where you feel like you need to walk away or desperately need to change the subject, throw an X in chat and we will cut the conversation off right there and move on. And we can even talk about what's going on with you if you need to. Just tune back in and thanks. In the interest of what we talked about with, you know, accepting help and accepting, you know, compliments and things like that, I won't say no you, but I will say also you. You are such a sweetheart as well, Savannah. But yeah, if on these Wednesday streams, if you ever feel like oh, no worries. I very much appreciate lurks as well. But yeah, if in any stream, really, like I said, this safety tool is specifically designed for tabletop games, but if in this one or any other stream, you ever feel uncomfortable, or you want to check and see if somebody else is feeling uncomfortable, because maybe it's a touchy topic that comes up, you could type in claptrap just like this. Just add an exclamation point to the front of it, and it'll pull up that bot chat prompt where everybody can say if they're doing okay or not. Because yeah, as I said, I was just realizing some of this might actually be triggering for some folks, so I apologize for not giving disclaimer before talking about it. Like I said, it was a little unexpected. But yeah, if I ever talk about something that's triggering you or causing you to have some issues or feel uncomfortable, feel free to throw that in there. And yeah, we'll address it for sure. Accepting compliments is tough, but thank you. Right? I have such a hard time accepting compliments. It's been something I've been working on recently. I've gotten a little bit better about it. But yeah, it's still tough. Yeah, train of thought just left again. anyways, one cool thing about this too that I'm realizing that I hadn't anticipated, but I wanted to say thank you all for chatting and talking, because A, it gives me content to talk about, which makes there actually be a stream, which is important. And B, aw, thanks. Thanks, Savannah. But I also realized this is actually really helpful for me as experience, because like I said, I do have, I can't talk a lot about details, but I do have potentially a talk show type stream that I'm going to be on soon. And then apparently Nerdsmith and I are going to be chatting about something related to that too in the future. I'll let you know when I can talk about whatever that will be. So this is good practice for that. And I'm also, and trying to think of a way to say this without sounding like I'm bragging, because I don't want to brag. But I do want to let you all know some exciting news that I've tweeted about just slightly. But I found out I am going to be at a sci-fi writing and gaming convention in February. A fairly large one for Utah, called LTUE, Life, the Universe, and Everything. And I'm actually going to be on 7 panels. Some of them as a panelist, some of them as a moderator. And I've never done panels before. So yeah, it kind of blew my mind when they asked me to be on 7. I was like, hey, maybe if I'm lucky, I'll get to be on 1. And I can kind of be like, you know, the one newbie that gets to hang out with all the cool people. And they're like, so we want you to be, I think it's, I'm a panelist on 5, and they want me to run 2 panels. So I was just like, what? So this is great practice for that too. OMG, that's so awesome. So thank you. Yeah, it blew my mind. I applied last year. This is before I even really got started streaming, and I was like, I guess I had been streaming a little bit by then when I applied. But I was like, you know, hey, you know, what the heck, I'll send them my stuff, and then if they want to choose me, they can. Probably won't happen, but, you know, whatever. And yeah, I got an email recently, and it was like, we want you to be on 7, and it just blew my mind. Just clicked on the stream because the overlay looked cool. The first thing I get is news of you slaying and whatever it is that you do. Thanks. I like people getting good news, so kudos. Thank you. Thank you, Rye Antrazit. I'm terrible at pronouncing names, just as a heads up. So if I just butchered that, let me know. And yes, I also, I agree with Riley. I love your positivity. And I'm glad you like the overlay too. So the overlays are something that I do. I didn't make like the thing where it says, you know, Last Tipper or Blackfeather Tavern up at the top. But I did add in, you know, orchestrate all the snow and the picture behind it. I do graphic art and stuff like that. That's something that I do on the side of streaming and being a game master. And I have commissions open for that too, by the way, if anybody is in need of graphic art for cover art or you know, book pictures, things like that. I'm definitely not an illustrator, but if you need like photography based art, I've got you covered there. And I know illustrators if you need them. So yeah, I'm glad you like it. Relax, amigo. Relaxing. Yeah, that's that one's a little difficult. I tend to be kind of rambly a little bit, especially with talking streams like this, but I appreciate it. So we've been talking about a lot of really interesting stuff. The light topic is, do you prefer coffee or tea or neither, and why? But we've also been talking about some heavy stuff like, you know, how do you deal with guilt for pursuing your passions, or deal with, you know, balancing expectations put on you and your own priorities. It's been a bit of a heavy topic stream, but it's been really good. So this is the first Blackfeather Tavern that we've done. Hey, thanks for the follow. welcome to the guild. So it's the first Blackfeather Tavern that we've done, but the whole concept behind this stream is to allow people to go to a place that's akin to, a tavern or a pub or a coffee shop, talk to somebody that's, the way you talk to your bartender or your barista, and fellow patrons, in a way that you can vent, you can talk about exciting stuff going on in your life, you're kind of just socialize in a safe, relaxed space, or even talk about issues that you're having that you want people to chime in on or just listen to you, and to sort of simulate that environment, because there's a lot of people who, whether through physical limitations or financial ones, can't. They can't go out in the real world and do that. So that's kind of what this is about, and everyone is free to and encouraged to talk about whatever you want to talk about. You don't have to. There's no pressure to, but if you would like to talk about things, feel free. And this will be every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Mountain Time. Again, this is the first one, but we'll be doing it every week. And then most of the time on this channel, we do tabletop RPGs. Okay, light topic: coffee in the morning, green tea in the evening, and the deep one, there's a great song. The chorus contains the line, "I can't apologize forever for everything that isn't me." And that sums up how I feel about people shaming you. That's an awesome line. I like it. I also like green tea. I'm a huge coffee person. I can drink coffee 24/7. But I do like green tea a lot. When I do drink tea, it tends to be either plain green tea or jasmine green tea. Although I do like an Earl Grey from time to time. And yes, that is entirely because of Star Trek: The Next Generation. Raven, do you think you'd vlog any bits of the convention? Think it'd make for great content, either as a YouTube video or just going through clips you took and talking about them on the stream? That's a good question. I haven't really thought about the logistics of that. I would love to. If I can, I suppose if I can find somebody that's going to the event, that I can say, hey, can you be in every one of my panels and just record it on your phone, or at least, or something like that. That would be good. I think LTUE does do audio recordings of some of them, but not all of them. When I was there last year, they had a lot of issues with getting microphones to work. So I don't know if it will be recorded or not. But that's a great idea. I'd love to do that. If I can swing it logistically, I will certainly try to do that. Twitch is such a weird little world because you're so violently different from me, and yet here we are just chatting. Gotta love that about the internet. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I have met some of the most amazing, very different people doing tabletop and Twitch streaming. It's been pretty cool. And I do definitely love that about the internet, Twitch especially. I'd love to see you in your element talking about things you're passionate about. Aw, thanks. Yeah, I'm trying to remember the names of all the panels. I'll have to get the list again and look at it, but I know one of them is tabletop related, one of them is LGBT related, which is really interesting because, this event is going to be in Provo, Utah, which is not exactly the most LGBT, populated area. It's where the big LDS Mormon University, BYU, is located. So I was really intrigued that they are doing an LGBT panel. So I'm going to be, I can't remember if I'm in that panel or if I'm moderating that panel. But either way, I'll be talking and asking questions, things like that. And then I think most of them, there's one about flash fiction, I think, that I'm in. And of course, tabletop game design. So yeah, I'm pretty excited. If you are in Utah or going to be in Utah, in the Provo area, it's towards the middle of February. Actually, on Valentine's Day is one of the days that it's on. That's where I'll be, is LTUE. It's a pretty cool convention. It's primarily for writers and people that are into board games and tabletop games, things like that. or people that are just really big literature fans. They sometimes have some pretty big authors there. There's a whole bunch of local authors, and there's some really surprisingly super good authors in Utah. And by surprising, I mean that there's such a concentration of such good authors here in Utah. That it's pretty cool. It's a fun event. I enjoyed going last year. But yeah, it's really amazing to see all the different kinds of people. Like by streaming, I've made friends globally, which is wild. I have now friends in New Zealand, in the UK. There's somebody that I've met and talked to and game with on occasion in Belgium. It's amazing. I'm really hoping that next year I can go to some of these the conventions like PAX U or Gen Con and actually meet some of these folks in person, because it's been really cool. But yeah, Twitch is pretty neat that it does bring a lot of varied people together in terms of, you know, views and even interests. So it's pretty neat. I'm thinking we'll probably do make this like a 3-hour stream. Starting in January, we'll also have a Wednesday evening game, tabletop game run by my friend Rowan, and that's supposed to start at 6:30, and 3 hours would end us at 4. So I think that's a decent amount of time to go eat and decompress and get into character. So yeah, we'll go for another 15 minutes or so though. So if anybody has something that they'd like to talk about or share, or again vent about, feel free. Right, this is I'm so excited. Right, it's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm jazzed to get back into. I know it's a prequel, so it's not quite the same setting, but it's same world. Struggle a little with insecurity. Don't have to, my friend. Yeah, that's an understatement. I'm an artist, so of course I struggle with insecurity. That kind of comes with the territory, I think, for most of us. But yeah, I also have a lot of issues from upbringing, and I have PTSD, which can cause some issues and things like that. So yeah, imposter syndrome is a very familiar thing in my brain. But yes, I do appreciate that, and I completely recognize that I don't have to feel insecure. And that's something I work on constantly. But I appreciate the sentiment. But yeah, I think a lot of us in the community do. I'm friends with a lot of artists, a lot of writers, and a lot of just nerds. We kind of were, a lot of us were brought up to feel insecure about the things that we're passionate about. And that's actually one thing I hope to do through this community is help people not feel so insecure or so alone in their passions or things that they struggle with. We're all fucked up. I have what my doctor called a generalized panic disorder. I got meds, and then they did nothing but make me tired, and I decided to not take them anymore, and today I am symptom-free most days. Oh, that's good. Yeah, I've taken medication for all of that as well. Don't currently because of financial reasons mostly. But I also did get to a point where I didn't need them as much anymore, which has been great. I do still have some that are for like panic attacks, things like that, emergency situations where you know, I definitely need something to help me not hyperventilate. But thankfully that doesn't happen very often anymore, which is great. But yeah, medication can help in some cases, and I am a big proponent of therapy if you have the means. I know a lot of people don't, which is unfortunate. And there's things that you can do to help, and it'll never replace therapy, but things that can help. And so I definitely encourage those as well. But yeah, if you have the means and the ability to, I think therapy is great for everybody, not even just people like me who have things like PTSD, where it would be extremely helpful for. Yeah. Confused for a sec. So, where are you from? Yeah, therapy here costs an arm and a leg in a lot of places. And in some places, that's if you can get in. Germany. Oh, cool. Very cool. That's a lot of my ancestors are from Germany. My great grandparents moved over to America from Germany. Yeah. Yeah, healthcare is, especially mental health care, is something that in America is not a great situation. Without going into politics of it, it's a big problem. When I had the first panic attack, like 8 weeks later, I was in therapy for free. That's a pretty good turnaround time. It would probably take at least 4 weeks here. I would guess, and that's if you're lucky. And then it would cost, I think, depending on like the level of therapist, something like that, probably $100 a session. I think. It's been a little while since I've had to price it out, and I think that's without insurance. And then with insurance, I mean, you're still gonna have to pay a copay, and that insurance is gonna cost you, $500 plus a month for the insurance in the first place. It's welcome to the first world, yeah. $130 on the cheaper side. Okay, yeah, it's been a few years since I priced it out. Yeah, it's pretty wild. Like, it's a really bad situation. We're hoping it gets fixed soon. And there's more I could say on that, but I'm trying to not make this a political conversation, because we do have an international viewership, obviously. That's just not the right venue for politics. We do have a venue for that in the community. On our Discord server, there's a heavy topics channel where people are free to talk about things that are a little bit more heated or controversial, as long as it's done respectfully. So if somebody really does want to talk about that and they want to do that within this community, there is a place for it, just not here. And that's not saying that somebody needs to stop talking about it. It's more to myself. So here you get the first 25 sessions covered by insurance, no questions asked. If your therapist or doctor diagnoses you with the need to continue, get as much as you need, basically. Didn't want to get political. Yeah, exactly. I that was not at you at all. That was at me realizing, like, yeah, if I keep talking about a particular trail, that's going to get political, and I don't want to have that here. So you're totally fine. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, free therapy. That no pun intended. That is mind blowing. That'd be really cool. We actually was just having a conversation recently as well, with some friends from Canada, and we were talking about healthcare and how it is over there as well. And this is from a very, very limited conversation with a very small group of friends, but I know somebody was saying it takes a really long time to get seen in Canada, but you don't have to worry about the cost. So it sounds like theirs was a little bit more than within 8 weeks, which is not great. But definitely sound like they're on the right track from where we are. But yeah, I'm glad everywhere isn't like here. I'm glad there are places where people can actually get taken care of like that without having to worry about taking out a loan or going bankrupt just to get medical attention. That's been a very persistent topic in politics and debating of current events in our country. Probably won't end anytime soon either, unfortunately. And then yeah, there's my Twitter that just popped up with the Raven bot. If anybody does want to talk about things, discuss things that we've talked about on this stream further, or wants to just talk directly to me about something, if you don't feel comfortable talking about it on chat, but you do want to talk to somebody about something, feel free to shoot me a DM on Twitter. I'm on there just about all the time, so I usually can reply pretty quickly. And then if you would love to join our community and chat with everybody, you can go to blackfeather.club, just like that, and that'll take you to our Discord. Discord's a little less active than, say, Twitter, because I'm on Twitter 24/7. But we've got a decently active community, and there's a lot of different channels that you can talk about different topics. Like I said, we even have one where you can talk about politics, which is something that I know a lot of communities try to stay away from entirely. But I do think it's important to have a space where you can. It's just you have to be a little bit more careful about being respectful and considerate, because it is so easy to get offended or get on a heated topic that somebody's particularly passionate about. So yeah, we've got special places to talk about a whole wide variety of things. Hey Michael, good news, talked to Gwen and going to be doing Herald. Oh, that's awesome! That's awesome, Michael. So what we're talking about is our Thursday night game, which is called Star Chaser. It's Call of Cthulhu in space. And one of our players is not going to be able to make it this Thursday. And it's a relatively small cast to begin with. So we were worried about, are we going to be able to actually do Thursday night show or not? But Michael's going to be playing one of the NPCs on the show. That has been very prevalent throughout the story, and is a really fun one to have around. So I'll be very interested to see how you portray Harold. I think it'll be a lot of fun. You'll do a great job, Michael. But that'll be Thursday at, I believe, 7 p.m. Mountain Time, 9 p.m. Eastern, if I remembered the time change correctly with delaying it a bit. But we'll be tweeting about it when it goes live too. So yeah, I think we're about done for today's stream. We'll start wrapping it up. Definitely gonna go raid somebody. I love to sort of share the joy with folks. Unless I'm gonna do a stream immediately after one that I end, I generally will always go on a raid. If you have suggestions for a raid cry, normally with our tabletop streams, we'll do a line that happened in the game. But being as this is just sort of a tavern and chill, if anybody has a suggestion of a raid cry they'd like to do, feel free to throw it in chat. I thought the game was going to be 9 Central Time Zone and 10 Pacific. So that would be 8 my time. Okay, yeah. That's still totally doable. 8 p.m. my time, which would be 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Mountain Time. That's what it was. And again, we'll tweet the information out before the show goes live to clarify. Santa says, thank you for the stream. It was nice catching up a bit and chatting. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for being here and hanging out and chatting. Chill by the Blackfeather Tavern for raid cry. Yeah, that works. I'm good with that. Let's see who's on and who we can spread a little raid love to. And then yeah, so next show will be tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Mountain Time, which will be our tabletop stream. We're not doing a one-shot this Friday, but I will be playing The Outer Worlds on stream on Friday night at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. And then there will be a rerun of Badlands before the Fracture on Saturday, as we do have several folks out of town for PAX U and other conventions. So that's kind of what's coming up for the rest of the week. But let's see, we've got... it does look like Scrat just started a stream. Let's see what Scrat's doing. Yeah, Scrat's doing the piratey game, it looks like. All right, and Kent Weems is on there. So some great people to check out on this stream. If you're not already following Scrat, highly recommend it. Scrat has heavily influenced how I stream tabletop, and kind of gave me the inspiration to go out and do it. So fantastic channel, very, very cool people. Go give them a follow. So we'll go on our raid there. So I'm gonna put us on our rating screen here. But thank you again. There we go. You've all been fantastic. Thanks for chatting, for your questions, your comments, your support, and for just being here. Super, super appreciate it. So sorry, let me catch up with chat real quick. Sorry. Question: did Urza deserve to win against Kagura? I'm trying to remember who Kagura is. I haven't seen a lot of the newer dubbed stuff, or the stuff that hasn't been dubbed yet. So the last episode that I saw, I got through the Loxus arc, and then a little bit of the more recent stuff that's currently on Netflix, I believe. So I may not have seen what you're talking about. I'm also terrible with names. But 9 times out of 10, I'd say Urza definitely deserves to win whatever fight she's in. So yeah, we're gonna go raid Scrat real quick here. And thank you all again for being here. So we're gonna go raid Scraticus, and then we've got our raid cry there. I'm just gonna get it ready. For me, chill by the Blackfeather Tavern. I'm going to throw a couple of our sub emotes in there. And here we go. See you all later.
Not next Monday, but the following Monday, I play on Tact and Diplomacy on Monday nights, 10